Welcome back to another Scotty and Motta minus Motta. We've got James Young back in after the last couple of episodes, and we've also got Ian to go over that absolute shit show, car crash, embarrassment in the FA Cup quarter-final against Leicester. I'm hoping that James and Ian can give me some encouragement towards the end of the season, because my enthusiasm is at an all-time low for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and United under this current regime. It just seems to be... I'm depressed, man. I'll just go straight to you, James. What the optimism of youth? What did you think of the game?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I was doing Radio Manchester for half time and then afterwards, and it was really hard to actually stay positive because I didn't want to do that. When people go on there and they get like the most negative people on there to sort of talk. So I was trying to sort of remain rational and speak some sort of sense, but it was really difficult, especially after that second half. It reminded me a lot of the Leipzig game, actually, when United just weren't in it, when they really needed to get something from that and get a result to get through in the Champions League. They just weren't there at all today. I mean, there was a slight chance United brought it back to 1-1, and you're thinking, right, now time to push on, and then they just throw away a goal like that. The first goal as well that Leicester scored was just shit. Shouldn't have happened in FA Cup quarter-final. And rightly deserved. United went out, and it's a bit of a shame because Solskjaer needs to win trophies. We've been speaking about this for a while now, and it's not looking good. Just needs to get the Europa League and top four finish, and I think that's probably the way that United can look forward now.
Do you actually have the confidence, though, James, in that he can deliver a Europa League trophy?
I think so. I mean, I think he's moving forward a lot more as a manager. I think Granada, even though he spoke about this before, I mean, they beat Napoli, they beat PSV. They're not a shit side as such, but I think United have enough to see themselves off against them. Then you're into the semi-final, and once you reach that sort of stage of knockout football, it's not necessarily the best side that wins it. If you look at Spurs, there it's the Champions League final. They weren't the second best team in the competition that year, but they still managed to get there. And I think United can do that. And I think if United manage to just sort of stay and play as well as they can do, then they can win the Europa League. Because I think match for match on paper, if you look at some of the other sides left in the competition, United should beat them.
Yeah, I mean, that was my sentiment today when I saw that when we were playing Leicester. And I know that we played AC Milan during the week, and we can look at tired legs for that. But Leicester without Barnes and without Maddison, so they didn't have a full-strength team today. So United on paper probably had the better 11 for me when the game started. Ian, what did you make of the match?
Oh, mate, it's disappointing, isn't it? I'm not about to jump off a cliff or anything, but if he's going to stick around, he needs to win a trophy. So it's disappointing, but just the way we lost that first goal as well, ridiculous. It looked like it was about to change when we brought the four subs on. We started playing a bit better, and then they go up the other end, get a goal, and that's the lot, innit?
But the problem is that why did he wait until the 65th minute to bring the four subs on? And a lot of people will sort of look at the international break that's coming up. Why didn't them four players start anyway? You know what I mean? I'm always of the sort of philosophy, and Ferguson used to do my head in when he'd do it. I'd always start my strongest team, win the game, and then take the players off the rest afterwards. But was that not a risk? When you seen the starting 11, were you not worried? Obviously, Martial's not been great.
I get why he made the changes. I get where you're coming from, but I don't start your strongest 11, and then win the game and then take a few off. But I think managers sometimes think like that when they're playing sort of lesser sides. But when you're playing a strong side like Leicester, to do that, think you're going to win get 2 or 3-0 up. It's not happening. It's always going to be a tight game. So you could be in the 70th minute and be one each. It's not. I don't think that's a good plan when you're playing a strong side. But yeah, I know where you're coming from, but I understand why he made the changes today. And then when he brought the four on, it looked like it was the tide was turning, but we let them in at the other end, didn't we? And game over then.
Yeah, what did you make about Ollie's team selection today, James?
I thought I agree with you. I think Fernandes, to get why he didn't play him, he may be looking like he deserves the rest, but so when he came on, the impact that he made, the free kick that he had, that he might have scored if there was a worse keeper in there. I thought it was bizarre to take Fred off with 6 minutes to play for Diallo when he should have been taken off a lot earlier. I didn't think he was offering much, to be honest with you. I think he should have came off. Yeah, it's a thing that's often been labelled at Solskjaer is his lack of sort of game management when it comes to substitutions, and I think you can be critical of it today because I'm not sure it was necessarily the right moves at the right time.
And what did you think about the goal and who's actually blamed for the goal, James? Because for me, I know, like, obviously Fred should be doing a lot more with the pass, but I think Maguire, a man of his knowledge and foresight and supposedly an £80 million defender, you should know that Fred's under pressure there when you're passing that ball out, shouldn't you?
Yeah, but it's both of them. I mean, Maguire shouldn't have made that pass in the first place, but then I don't know what Fred was thinking, trying to pass it back like that when it was obvious that the Leicester player was going to run in behind it and get onto that. It was both of them that were at fault for that. I mean, the thing is with United playing the ball out from the back, I know you're not a fan of it as such, but I get why Solskjaer's trying to do it. You do create more chances if you play the ball out from the back and you spread the ball out more instead of just hoofing it up front. We've seen it before with De Gea, with his distribution at times when he just kicks it out for the throw, and I kind of get why United like to do it. But then at the same time, I mean, City do this. Guardiola doesn't always play out from the back. If he knows that a side is going to press him, Ederson will hoof it up front because he knows our sides are going to play. It happens rarely, but they do it. And I think United probably should do that more. I think Henderson, on the whole, has better distribution than De Gea, but even still a couple of... Well, I saw it in the Milan game as well. I thought his distribution was pretty poor in that game as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's like me driving my Punto and wanting to do 200 miles an hour like a Lamborghini. Do you know what I mean? City have the benefit of the players to be able to pass out from the back, don't they, and play that certain different types of football. And I just think we're found wanting too often with the distribution that comes out from the back. I think Henderson's been good the last couple of weeks in terms of throwing the ball out. I think there was a goal. I think it was a City game, wasn't it? It was very like Schmeichel in the early days where he threw out to the wing to Luke Shaw. But I just don't think we've got the personnel to start trying to play that style of football. It's nice in theory, but the practical, I just don't think it works. It's our first loss. That record comes to an end. Ian, what does it mean for the season going forward and stuff? It was impressive that we kept that away run going for so long. Yeah. But there were calamitous at the back, weren't there?
Yeah, oh, massively. I'm not entirely Fred's fault for me. I don't blame Harry Maguire for that. I'm not sure it was doing the call comms on BBC, but he touched on it. If Fred it was Jermaine Janis won it. If Fred just takes that first time, it makes its way back to Henderson because he took a touch. He took all the weight off the pass, and I don't know what he was trying to do with the pass. But I can't blame Maguire for that. You know, they're being told to play out from the back. Like you, it does my head in sometimes. They ain't good enough to play out from the back.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of questions. Yeah.
So, yeah, going forward for the season, I think we'll probably finish second. We've got a great chance of winning Europa League. I don't know why everyone's shitting themselves over it.
But we had a great chance of winning. We had a great chance of winning the FA Cup, though. That's the problem.
How did we have a great chance of winning the FA Cup?
Because we would have been playing. We would have been playing Southampton in the next round.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Leicester was probably a favourable draw considering the other teams that were in the cup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we got a great chance to get into the final. And whoever we get, Chelsea or City, I make them favourites.
Okay. Well, James, just touching back on Fred because he was getting a lot of stick across social media throughout the game. When you look at the likes of Fred, Matic, Lindelof, Martial up front, this for me doesn't look like a team that can win a league. So when Solskjaer's talking about progress, it does seem like a team that can win knockout competitions because anyone can win it on its day. But them sort of names in a team to stretch out to have the consistency for a league. How far off do you think we are for challenging for any trophy or title?
So reminds me, have you seen that programme, the Big Questions with Nicky Campbell?
Yeah.
I was watching that the other day, right? You know, when you're flicking through channels, it was like, is the world coming to an end? And there were these mental like Christians on there that were convinced that Armageddon was coming. And he had to like nuance with them and say like, well, we've got people on here that are atheists and they believe this or whatever. And they have all these like mad philosophical debates. No, I think, to be honest, with United this season, I think they probably can lift some silverware, to be honest with you. I think, like we were talking about earlier, I think second and the trophies progress on last season. That's kind of what should be aimed for. Yeah,
but I mean, what about next season and moving forward? Then, if you've got players like Fred who is making the mistakes that's costing us a FA Cup quarter final, do we need centre mid? Do we need centre forward? Is the defence strong enough to sort of go on and do a challenge City for the title?
It's tough because, and I was talking about this the other day on Talking Bulls, and I got a bollocking for it because it's quite hard to defend City's owners, because basically when you're back, it's like, whoa! I don't like calling it sovereign wealth. Let's not call it that. Come on. But I think it's very difficult when City and PSG are owned by countries and they have the backing. You've basically got unlimited money. They can spend what they want because UEFA can't actually do financial fair play rules on them because they'll bankrupt them in legal fees because they're owned by an entire country. So it's very, very difficult to compete now. This isn't like when Ferguson first took over at United and it was a bit more of a level playing field. You had your top clubs, but it was not as rare for other clubs to break through and push forward and do better in the old first division. But now I think United are going to have to seriously spend some money if they do want to compete with City. And I think that's going to be difficult. United are losing 4 million roughly every home game with a lack of crowds. They just don't have the same money as City do, and they're losing money through debt and interest as well. But United are going to have to spend. They're going to have to back Solskjaer, and they haven't done that so far.
Yeah, and I think this is why I get majorly frustrated this year, is because I don't think we're going to spend anywhere near the amount of money in the summer to try and put a challenge together for a league title, or even for a trophy. And we're going to get people like Chelsea are already looking at spending more money. I think Arsenal probably reinvest. Liverpool will be a better team than they were this season. So with all how bad they've been this season, I think United were in quite a strong position, especially for the FA Cup, or maybe to try and give more of a fight towards in the FA Cup. So I just think next season we could find ourselves quickly falling adrift. Ian, if you could invest in the team, you'll have 1 or 2 players. Is there anywhere where you think we could do with strengthening first and foremost?
Yeah, I'd love to see. I don't think we're that far off, Dave. I think with a top-class centre-forward and a top-class centre-half alongside Maguire, I think we're challenging. I would personally, although he's been playing well the last sort of 4 or 5 months, I'd see off Pogba and bring maybe Grealish in. But priority for me, I mean, if there's some way we could get rid of Pogba, speak to the agent and say, look, we'll let him go, but we want Haaland. If we could get hold of, I know it's a long shot. If we could get hold of Haaland, we would have won the league this season. I'm telling you now. Sometimes it doesn't always take 4 or 5 players. If you can sign that one sensational player, you'll be challenging or winning trophies. Look at say Liverpool when he brought Suarez in. He was the main reason they put in a challenge that year. They were garbage, and he was just unbelievable. They put in a challenge. United, Van Persie saying, sometimes just one player can make the difference, and I don't think we'll be that far off if we could bring in an Harry Kane, an Haaland, someone like that.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast before we came on here, and it was. Sorry, what was that, Ian?
I was just saying, I think they need to strengthen at centre half as well. I think Lindelof, Bayer, they're good players, but they're squad players. They're not. They shouldn't be in the first team.
Yeah, but that's what I think when I see a lot of the central midfielders that we've got. I mean, if you talk about we only need to strengthen the defence and the centre forwards, today we're talking about Fred in our centre midfield where the mistakes were coming. And I understand the logic of Pogba going to sort of bring funds in, but I can't see anywhere across Europe who's going to spend the money that. I think we'd probably want for Paul Pogba, to be honest, and I think more because of the market value on shirts and merchandise, more so than the sort of what it can bring to a club for chasing silverware. James, what do you think? Where would you look to invest? And I can't see us getting Haaland. Sorry, James. I can't see Haaland wanting to come to United. I know everyone goes on about this whole Solskjaer's his BFF and his best mate and all that business, but I don't think that's enough to want to come to a football club. I really don't.
Why would he come to United?
Yeah,
I don't like. He went to Dortmund when he had the option to go to United because he'd get more playing time. And would probably play in the latter stages of the Champions League. He's a risk coming to United. United aren't the same club that they were 15, 20 years ago when Jaap Stam came to United, when United won the treble. They don't quite have that lure that other players do because they've seen it when big names have moved to United before, the likes of Di Maria, the likes of Falcao. It's worked well for Cavani, but it is a risk moving to a side that might not get Champions League football. They might pay your wages okay, but at the same time, if you're Haaland, United, let's face it, for the next 2-3 seasons, they're not going to be in the semi-final or the final of the Champions League. It's going to be a progress and it's going to take a while for that to happen. So I think United are a way off doing that. But we've seen before, United are now going for these younger players, the likes of Diallo, the likes of Majiri, likes of other players that are coming through. And I think that's kind of what United are going to have to target now, these sort of younger players. But you were talking about before, did you ever used to play the old Pro Evo games before it got worse?
Yeah.
Do you remember how good Obafemi Martins was on like Pro Evo 6, him and Adriano up front together?
Oh, Adriano, that beast of a left foot, yeah.
That's what Haaland is. He's like a cheat code. All those games, they've just signed like the fastest player.
Yeah. What I mean, but the fear is that Man City are going to be looking for a striker, aren't they, in the summer? And if they will go out and probably dominate Europe or the Premier League even further, Haaland would be the one you'd expect them to sort of go for. But I just can't see
that's their transfer. City do have money, but they've spent it better than United have as well. If you go back to David Silva, Aguero, those signings were probably better then in terms of value for money than a lot of the signings that United have made. You know, look at someone like Rojo, look at some of the signings under Van Gaal and Mourinho. When the funds were available to them, they didn't necessarily spend it as well as they should have done.
Yeah. I tell you, here's a good question. When was the last time a United player left Old Trafford for more money than they joined? I'd love to know the sort of statistics on that.
Probably Fellaini.
God knows, but it'll be Jesse Lingard, won't it? I feel like the only way we're going to have a decent transfer kit this season is binning players like Pogba. Jesse Lingard will get a fortune for now because he's English and he keeps scoring goals. Binning players because West Ham loves spending money, Ian. Oh, well, that's 20 million on it. Kind of Diet Coke on him. Do you know what I mean? He's bobbing, but he's having a little run form. The only way we're going to get a transfer kit this season is getting rid of Pogba, possibly getting rid of the Gea, and just bringing a few quid in that way. But it doesn't look good, does it? To be honest, the noise is
not when you look over the when you look over the years of when we sold Ronaldo and bought in fucking Michael Owen and who else did we sign that summer?
Embleton.
Yeah, and Embleton. Money well spent, that wasn't it?
Look at last season. You know, we were at the start of last season. No, sorry, at the start of this season, you know, mid-pandemic, the noises were that they were going to spend massive and they were going to back Ole, and we brought in Van der Beek. So,
yeah,
you know, what they do now, you know, we're a year into that pandemic now, and there's still, at the minute, there's still no signs of fans being in the stadium, so I don't see him spending big at all.
No, and James makes a good point as well about like why would Haaland or players of their ilk come to Old Trafford, because you know, as we're big United fans and that, and we love the legacy and the history of the club, it doesn't mean as much nowadays for players that are hungry for the success, because a lot of like, you know, they'll get a decent money wherever they go around the world. And I think when you look at players like Paul Pogba, I don't think Pogba would have come back to United knowing what he knows now, because I think going to United now is a bigger risk than it was when Paul Pogba signed for United again.
Yeah,
they're going to have to.
Sorry, go on, James.
I was going to say that they're shopping at Tandy when they should be shopping at John Lewis. That's the problem.
I kind of agree with you there, but in terms of Ireland, I would say that obviously there's that connection with Ole, but he's Norwegian. United are by far the biggest club in Scandinavia. Do you know what I mean? Everyone loves United over there, don't they? I think that's the only chance they've got. But, you know, it's a slim chance, isn't it? Like you said.
What, because of the same nationality?
No, because Scandinavia just love United, don't they? Everyone does. But then again, he's all fellow plays for shit, so he probably hates.
Well, not every English person wants to go and play for fucking Graham Potter. You just say just because they're saying the nationality, and I think Graham Potter's a fantastic manager for what he's done.
I don't think Raheem Sterling is dying to play for Sam Allardyce, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. United are massive in Scandinavia, aren't they? Maybe he grew up watching United. I suppose he was.
I'll be absolutely honest. I grew up watching United, and if I got the opportunity to go and play for them now, I'm not too sure if I'd play for this fucking 11 or Barcelona.
I would. But I'd rather.
Right, obviously there is the loss against Leicester brought out the usual Ollie out hashtags, and I saw you were bitching about it, Ian, saying everyone's off their head for doing so. But I think it's becoming more and more apparent that people are getting more pissed off. And I think that come the end of the season, if we don't win any silverware and we do finish less than second, then the pressure has to be on from the fans anyway, despite the Glazers talking about giving him another contract. Because for me, I think the Glazers have played a blinder by getting Solskjaer in because it's given them a buffer, because a lot of United fans won't criticise the manager as much as they would say a Van Gaal or Mourinho because of that attachment that Solskjaer's got. But is there another manager out there, James, you could see if Solskjaer was to go that you'd put in his place? Is there an obvious candidate to fill his shoes?
No, because we've been in this circle so many times post Ferguson. Went with Moyes, okay. Ferguson's mate, he's done a good job at Everton, decent Premier League manager, finished 7th, sacked. Van Gaal, experience, won the Champions League, won plenty of titles with Barcelona, did a good job as well with Ajax, got sacked. Mourinho, okay, he's won the league at every single club he's been at, won the Champions League with Porto, won it with Inter Milan, won 2 league titles with Chelsea, got sacked. And here we are again with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. What do you think is going to happen to him?
Yeah, so you don't think you should, because they have been successful in the past, that they shouldn't replace Solskjaer?
Well, it's just the same sort of circle of stuff that we've already tried. So people say, "Oh, we'll go with Pochettino," but we've tried managers that have won things before, and Pochettino doesn't even have a track record of winning things as such in the Premier League. And I think it'd be daft to sack a manager halfway through a process, because we'll have the same issue with transfer windows. There'll be players that won't fit into the manager's system, so there'll be a whole new dead wood. There'll be a whole new more players signed. I think economically, it just doesn't make sense to do that, because you're going to have the system again. Well, he'll want different transfer targets to Solskjaer. There'll be players there that wouldn't want to play for the new manager. Look at Van Gaal, look at Mourinho. They're completely different systems and Moyes, and there's no real coherent signings there. There's no real transition there. Look at Moyes, for example. He signed Fellaini and he signed Palmata. They're 2 completely different players that play in different systems. And so I just don't understand why you would do that 2 years into a project that is seemingly going well at the minute. To change things up again, because you just go in the same circle of qualifying for the top 4, next season doing okay, not getting back to the transfer market, and then getting sacked. Yeah,
Ian, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need me anymore. James has just nailed it. Exactly the same. What is the point? You're going round in circles. We've had probably the best man, or one of the best managers in the modern era, and he couldn't manage the club. We've got someone now. It's all right. It's slow, but we're going forward. We're making progress. 3rd last year, looks like 2nd this year. If you give him time and money, we've spoken about that. There probably isn't any money. Then maybe he will do a job. I think next year is massive. I think he's got to be given one more season, and see where we are at the end of next season. If we're 3rd, 4th next season, then maybe think about getting rid of him. But all this. Twitter grinds my gears proper, man. It does my head in. After we lose a game, so it reminds me of like the Brexit debate. There's no nuance. It's either people rabid Ole out or rabid Ole in, and I just feel like I'm Ole in, but for now. Do you know what I mean? There's no better option, and we're slowly moving forward.
I know, but I don't know about when you say that there's no better option. I know James touched on Pochettino, but I mean PSG signed Pochettino, so obviously they saw something. They saw something in Poch that they wanted, and obviously, and then obviously the French league is a lot easier to win with the finances and the lack of competition in France. But when you're talking about the previous managers that have followed Ferguson, Moyes was a car crash because it was undoing when he got rid of all the backroom staff. Van Gaal and Mourinho were well past their best. If you just look at what Jose's gone and done at Spurs, he's fell off massively. We didn't get Jose at the right time, because for me, they should have got Jose post-Ferguson, not post-fucking him having a downfall at Real Madrid and Chelsea.
He won a Europa League and he won a League Cup in that first season, which I think people overlook. That was an impressive first season, and he finished 2nd. And he said at the time that was the best achievement that he ever did in his career, and people mocked it. But United really didn't have a great squad that season to finish 2nd. And I think it was that 3rd season where it fell apart when he asked for Maguire and didn't get him, essentially. And that's the reason why it fell apart. I think if Mourinho had the backing and the right money available to him in that 3rd season, I think we might have seen a different outcome.
Yeah, and I agree with that to an extent. And the finishing 2nd, a lot of people laughed at it. And then when you look at how much hard work Solskjaer's had to do with getting rid of players, and a lot of the driftwood that actually finished 2nd or won the Europa League under Mourinho, it was a massive achievement. But he wasn't at the elite level. Let's say when City signed Pep Guardiola, he was what everyone wanted. When Liverpool got Jurgen Klopp, he was one of the elite managers in Europe. We've never had that. We've never gone for whoever's on trend at the moment. And now because it hasn't worked with two people who, for me, were past the best. Moyes was a massive mistake, and now we're left with Solskjaer. And it just seems that okay, because it's not worked previously, we shouldn't try it again. When you look at do
you think we should have gone with Mourinho instead of Moyes then after Ferguson?
I think so. Yeah, I actually wrote something for. I think Jay used to have a website called Red Flag Flying Eye, as a blog page, and I actually wrote on there because everyone was saying about I want Pep after Ferguson, and this was Ferguson's last season. I wrote it after we went to United versus Real Madrid when Nani got sent off. Yeah. And and I knew after seeing Ferguson's reaction there, because it didn't come out until after that Ferguson was going to leave, and I wrote an article saying that I want Jose Mourinho to follow Ferguson now, because he just seems the right man to have the ego to walk in and follow Fergie. But I think it was a massive mistake not getting Jose Mourinho then.
Yeah, agree. You know, I was buzzing when we got him. I'm not a massive lover of football, but I thought he would be the man that should win a few trophies, win the league, and we desperately. And I think I said it to you a few years back. The sooner we win by hook or by crook, by however we do it, the sooner we win a league, the better. Because you can see this going on, like it was Liverpool. You know what I mean? The longer it goes on, the harder it gets. And I think if we'd have got him straight after Fergie, he'd have probably won the league. But you know, what under the bridge, in it, it's all done with. In terms of who you would get, I feel like it's always a flavour of the month. You know, I think people have mentioned it 6 months, a year ago. People were going, "What about the fellow? What's he called at Wolves? Sanchez."
Nuno.
Yeah. What about him? Who else was there? There's been others who do well for 6 months, and they go, "Oh, he should be United. You know, he should be United manager." And honestly, you need to stick with a process. You need to. I sound like a sweat now, don't I? You need to stick with a man. You got to stick with
your
fingers. The other thing that no one really mentions too often in all of this is look at the way that it ended for Van Gaal, and the way that, especially Mourinho, it was toxic, man. And they all, on the odd occasion, we played badly like today, but they all like to pull him together for all that. They all like to play for him. They look like there's a bit of togetherness there, and I just think it just needs a couple of real class players, and we'll be far off.
I hope you're right. I just can't see him getting the signings. But it's quite interesting in Italy with Juventus, and it looks like Pirlo. You know, if you look at comparisons, a former Juventus legend who took over at the club. I think they're 11 points adrift now, aren't they, in Serie A?
That's different though, because Pirlo's experience before he took that job was like 2 games as their reserve manager, whereas Solskjaer, to be fair to him, had won a league title in a European country, had managed in the Premier League. Even though that didn't necessarily work out, people always like to use that as a comparison. And I think Lampard as well, people did a similar thing, but Lampard only really got the job at Derby because he knew Jody Morris. And even then, he didn't get them promoted. He didn't do a great job there, and got the Chelsea job probably on merit, and didn't really do very well there either.
Yeah. I mean, outside of... Go on, Ian.
I mentioned that, you know, Solskjaer spent a couple of years he spent in United youth setup before he went off to Norway. He spent some time, so he knows.
He did, yeah.
These young lads now, he already knows them. He's already there with them when they were kids. So I don't know. For me, for now, he's the man. For now, another year.
For now, one more year. James, how long you give? Would you give Solskjaer until he started?
I mean, Ferguson went until 1990. He went 4 years without winning a trophy, but it's very different now. It's not quite the same. I don't think you can give a manager quite that amount of time because there's more pressure on him. But I think this season, if United get top 4 again and win a trophy, I think that's fine. I think looking forward, it's going to be hard for him to win a trophy. So I think you just have to persist with it and hope that it works out. And if it doesn't work out, if United don't finish in the top 4, okay, then you think about trying to move him on, bring someone else in. But I don't think United need a change of manager at the minute. I don't know what good it will achieve. I think you wrote it down as your the wordsmith that you are. I think United the plastic fork in an eating trifle, as you once said famously.
Thanks for quoting my own lyrics, and that is available. That is available on Spotify if anyone wants to pick it up. Listen, Ian, your mic's been shit, so we have to sort it out for next week. James, pleasure as always. All right, nice one. See you later, dickhead. See you later. And that was Ian Embleton and James Young. You should subscribe, Scotty and Motty down the bottom, and then we'll be back tomorrow.